I'm just going to cover the same damn material, but from a slightly more classical perspective. As Peter observed within the first 5 minutes of Pat's presentation, well, this isn't the Kodokan Koshiki no Kata. Mine won't be either. Mine is actually derived from how Miss Miyake taught it in '97 when she came to Houston and disseminated it down there. I don't know how much we'll get through over the course of the weekend. Andre and I have gone through it extensively, and we've created a little video reference point for everybody to take with them when you leave. So the stuff we leave out, it should probably be in there. So let's just start at the beginning. You want to uke or tori?
Let me uke so you don't have to take
Okay. Okay. So I'm over on this side. He's over on that side, and we'll. Oh, this is fine. We'll kind of. You want to do the whole shtick?
Do the whole thing. It's really cool to watch.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we're in armor, and we're clunky, and we have this clunky way of bowing, and we turn. We make our joseki bow. Back up. And then we've got this crazy kneeling bow like you're in slow motion. Oh, my knees hurt. Oh, and then we go, and then, because we got armor on. And it's a big pain in the ass to do this part, right? And then we come back up. Then we take one big step. One big step is to demonstrate that you understand that you don't throw your ass up in the air before you drop it. So normally people jack over here, drop it up in the air and then drop. This is a drop step. Boom, with the weight going down into that step right off of the center of gravity, not bobbing up and down. And I rotate to joseki. I take 3 little steps like I'm wearing armor. Then another to set the position. He's just outside my peripheral range. If I'm facing here, I can't see him. He sneaks up on me. Should be about 6 steps. Did we get it right?
6.
Hey, I love it when shit works. He puts the suckers on me. If he were to succeed, his next thing would be to throw me on my head right over here. Whoa, bam. Hip throw. And it's odd. You don't even have to grab and grip to do that. If you just make an open hip and swing the hip out, it will take him on this circular ride. He's attempting to do that. And in the first responsive action, we have the second thing Pat did, which is, oh, I think I'll do sugiyashi. That same dropping step we demonstrated right off the bat. And I'm going to take him back into his rear corner with sugiyashi. Now the tricky bit. This leg, my outside leg, is going to do the first job to him, which is to put this knee, my right knee, behind my left knee, which does a lateral action to him. It goes into body rise and kind of boosts him up laterally. The second job that's going to happen is going to be cut 90 degrees from that, straight back. This is very similar to what you've been playing with. We're here, we get this, and then this. And that's already pretty bad. Often that's enough to kill him. 90-degree lines is a big deal in this kata. Things that are sharp 90-degree angles. We actually do 3 things to him. We go a line that cuts into him, a line that goes straight back through him, and we drop at the same time. So we're actually going to do 3 vectors at once. Why all this damn overkill? We'll talk in a second. So we're here. Palms are just into him, no grips. 1, 2, 3, drop. And there's this little stabilization action that takes place. Because I've just thrown him into this line, I need to go ahead and let this open to get comfortable if I had any wobbliness going on before I stand back up. Why would they do 3 at once? Sometimes 1 is plenty, sometimes 2 is plenty. Because in the Kito-ryu, in this Kito-ryu Kata and Koshiki no Kata, it was one of the jiu-jitsu schools that had as a training principle, you can't do that shit to me. You try it. So ukes were trained towards what we would think of as a competitive, gotta prove it to me type of thing. The kata of the Kito-ryu had maintained a little bit of edginess in that respect. And they did a randori form. They played randori with each other and sort of had to prove everything to each other. And so you get this overkill thing. This might be quite sufficient. Pretty good. This might be quite sufficient. It was. But we'll do all three. And that has that little Guruma-esque ending too. That little twirl. I recommend you break them down into pieces this way. Cool? So I'm not too concerned about that. Well, you probably ought to do the beginning bit. He puts his palms on you and he starts to throw you and you do Sugiyashi. And we take him for a ride of some number of steps. Classically, it's like 4 or 5 steps. Get that down. At some point, that stops. You go over a cliff or he stops. When he begins to stabilize against this long ride against Sugiyashi, oh, okay. That's when this next thing's going to happen. Because again, it's built on uke overcoming the condition of your throw. Uke overcoming what you're trying to do to him. He's beating you. You're struggling for that stability and balance the whole time with each other. Cool? Cool. Questions? Anything you want to see again? Let's just try that one thing or 2 things. Cool? Pair up. Thank you. Great. Are you? Yeah. He's uke. Who do you want to throw as Tori?
Oh, I'm uke?
You're going to throw him.
Oh, right. So,
He's going to get it this time.
who doesn't mind taking a hip throw?
Hip throw. Who wants to? Yeah, there we go.
I'll take hip throw.
So Andre's going to sneak up and be the uke. He's going to sneak up behind you.
You might want to take your glasses off.
And if the uke does what he's supposed to do, he's going to sneak up behind you, get the drop on you, and he picks up this foot.
So if you're doing, you know what you're supposed to do, right? I go here and you do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to come up and try to do my thing.
Okay. If I miss it.
That's right. That initial drop step, real important. If you don't immediately go to Sugiyashi as you feel that thing begin to affect you, he's going to throw you on your head. Do it again. And challenge it a little bit. See if you can get the drop step in there. See if you can really stop him.
Besides doing the drop step.
Do the drop step.
Do the drop step.
If you can. There you go. That's closer.
Do a hip throw.
Yeah, that's much.
Now if you hit me in the chest and the lower back.
Boom. Whoa, looky there. We're in the process. And you start to see what the kata is pointing at. It's saying, man, if you are just, dead to the world, standing on guard duty, linking your ice cream cone, and the guy sneak up behind you, you're liable to be thrown on your head, damn it. And this is the, oh shit, I'm liable to be thrown on my head. So I better train myself to drop my center directly in the line where I am being affected. So it's a going with, it's a principle of Ju. We've had this whole condition where he snuck up on us and he did this nasty thing, and we dropped into him, boom, and we chased him back into this potential hole, and he stabilized enough, and we're like, oh, I think I'll still throw him in that hole. The next condition is we chase him toward this hole, and he comes back like a boss. Uh-oh. And I start to go into the hole backwards. You get in the struggle. At that moment of truth, when you get right back on the edge, he's able to put a foot back, for instance, and he's going to start reversing you. The reverse is going to come, and he's going to chase you down and throw you on your head again. And that's where this wonderful next cute thing comes from. You've driven him, you fight for it, oh, and as you fight for it, you start to feel your posture go. Everything lines up, I get hooks on him. And then they do what was referred to in one text as the strange non-rhythm of the Kito-ru. The strange non-rhythm of the Kito-ru means tiny little steps. Tiny little steps. Tiny little steps. You're minimizing body rise, body drop. You start hitting him with these little tickle steps. You're braced up and you take that ride backward. If you do it classically, you go right over your heels. Bam! And you land like a log from your heels up to the top of your head. And his body falling is the counterweight to it so that you don't bash yourself badly as you do it. If you're doing it more politely with each other on crash pads and sitting down, that's fine too. It's probably a good idea to start with the sitting down thing and work up to the timber thing over time, because it's a bit dependent on their ukemi and your throw. It's also going to launch them a great ways. You're going to have a big wide space in the dojo, or pads on the walls, or I don't know. There's one record of one of the Kito-ryu guys getting challenged in a bar or something by one of his up-and-coming young sumo students and throwing him through a wall. And I'm pretty sure it was one of these deals. He says,
Japanese paper wall. Probably.
well, it's up, but it's still a wall. I think walls count. It's expensive to rebuild. Anyhow, so we're looking at that moment of truth. You've driven him back, and he starts to fight you, and oh, you feel your own posture go. When you feel your own posture go, hands come under, make these hooks. Feet come together, and just get the little, get that going. When you feel his momentum break over from boss to, oh, what the hell's this? At the point you start feeling that in his body, timber. What is that you're feeling in his body? You're feeling that sense of controlled pressure on you turning into this bobbling thing that you're creating. Okie doke. Try it as you will. Be careful where you're throwing, please. Okie doke. Okay, I got a few minutes. Go ahead. Thank you. Anything I can help you out with on those two? The whole kata is structured around pairs. Pairs because we have a condition of off balance in throwing met with conditions of failure, or met with conditions of variability in attack that would lead to failure, and that you have this contingency plan thing, this one entrance, two exits idea is happening to the whole kata. Whole kata is built on rise and fall. Kito-ryu, Kito, rise, fall. The kata examines a large variety of understandings of body rise, and the vulnerability in body rise, and the vulnerability in body drop. Guruma and Otoshi get in there, as well as interesting specialized conditions for the fact that you're wearing armor or they're wearing armor. There's cervical neck attacks, there's cervical spine attacks in here that are kind of interesting too. So there's a lot going on in this cool little old kata. I particularly like the way Pat's approaching it because you don't have to kill each other. And you can get a whole lot out of it. There's really only about, would you say 4 or 5 techniques? If you think about principal ideas. Yeah, it's a very small set. There's like a lot of variations of the same kind of throw over and over and over again. Or 2 or 3 or different, maybe 4 or 5 different throws that are happening with some variability of how you get there, or variability of how things have failed to put you there. And apparently, from my reading at least, that's pretty normal. We're used to, Mr. Tomiki's kata with 17 things, and then his bigger kata, the Koru kata with 50 things, and all these elaborations that come in this modern form of Budo that we're looking at. And apparently, it was fairly typical that the older katas would contain a very small number of things, just done with lots of different ways to do them. And Kito-ryu was like the big damn deal about grappling. Other jiu-jitsu katas would have some punching and some kicking and some this and that, and then maybe a throw here or there. But the Kito-ryu was like, oh, they're the guys that throw all the time. So it was the grappling-centered form. And that's of particular interest to us because you can get away with a lot of stuff with the light dancy, what'd you call it, the Aiki bunny? You can get away with the Aiki bunny thing a lot, and if you're really sophisticated, you can get away with that to a huge degree. And at some points, you start finding yourself in a damn muddy hole with a grappler, and everything gets bogged down, and suddenly, oh shit, this ain't all working the way it was all supposed to, and you gotta have some secret weapons. It's basically a set of secret weapons for that kind of stuff. Cool? So it exists in that same form. In fact, the lightness and sensitivity-based orientation that we have comes from this same line of thinking. The fact that we're so oriented around body rise and drop, the fact that we're so oriented around footwork, the fact that we're very oriented around this light touch thing, or the sucker hands, like you've been talking, is all owing to Kito-ryu. But it also contains this body drop function with the Tsutemiwaza with the big throws. And it also contains these vectors, these 90-degree lines. So there's some interesting things going on. Anybody not make something work that you want to make work before we stop? And get ready for round next. No. Okie doke. Let's bow out. Next on deck. So, we're going on. Tag team. We did the tag team thing on you. I really like the relaxation. The really relaxed execution of things. And it reminds me of the story, Kato. There was a Kito-ryu jiu-jitsu master in the 1800s named Kato. Like Kato in the Green Hornet, I guess, you know. And there's a famous story I picked up out of Aikido Journal that's just a hoot. And it was Kato had a remarkable quality of light touch and relaxation. And relaxed affect as he was doing things. And he had these thugs come around and join his dojo. And one of them would finally get tired of all this soft mamby-pamby, Ike bunny kind of bullshit and really try him on, and he'd throw him through the wall, you know. Stuff like that would happen. And they'd all go, whoa, well, Kato's really, you know, stuff comes out of that. But my favorite story is he was out at the castle pissing in the moat one night. Because that's where you went to piss. And a rival jiu-jitsu school in town, there were a couple of those thugs. Because it wasn't like, you know, martial arts are good guys. It was a bunch of martial arts were monsters back then. Things were going downhill by the 1800s. And the riffraff were filling up the schools. That's why they got such a bad reputation. Things started getting worse and worse. So a couple of these rival school children were running around and looking for somebody to beat up to see if their stuff would work. And so they saw a workman coming home from, you know, doing carpentry. And they thought, maybe we could beat him up and see if our stuff really works. But they, oh no, he looks kind of tough. Maybe not, you know. And then they're wandering around all evening looking for targets, predatory bastards. And they see this old man standing over by the moat, taking a leak. And they think, well, easy picking, low-hanging fruit, here we go. And the story was they come up and assault Kato while he's in his business. And he throws them both in the moat without ever breaking the stream of his urine. So it didn't even excite him enough to stop. Which is not a lot of internal muscular difference if you think about it. It's not like he, oh no, I'm being attacked. There wasn't any of that. It was like, oh really? And it's just, And I think that every time I think about that relaxation, I think, man, that's really internalized relaxation. So when we do these katas, even when we're doing the old-fashioned, the thump, let's do it in armor, you do really want to have that internal sense of staying cool with it, that internal relaxation thing. Cool? It's a good thing to keep in mind. So let's pick up from yesterday.
I don't think this is on.
That's okay. I don't care if it's on or not. So I got this all on video for you guys. In fact, I'll give them out. Those videos on the desk right behind you, Greg, start passing them around for people at the end. Right there, that's where they are. So that will be take home, and it has all the stuff from the larger kata form, okay? For Pats, we got to wait till we edit it and put it on YouTube. But for the kata form, we'll do those right there, right? Okay, so get you one of those. You want an uke or tori?
I'll keep up with uke.
You want uke? Okay, sure. All right, so yesterday, let's see. If we're doing it this way, I got to turn around. I'd be there, right? And you'd be coming at me here?
Are we doing it this way? Okay.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Am I backwards?
Well, yesterday we started.
We faced that way, but now they're all sitting over here, so we'll face this way. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So we have this big bow thing, and then we get up, and I turn, and I go boom, 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 and stop. And he sneaks up on me, just to review what we looked at yesterday. And he does the hands on the belly, and we take off with him with sugiyashi, yeah? And who can tell me what I do next? It's a test. 3 directions. Chops, you win. Good. We do that to him. Yeah, cool. And that is the lateral action, the back action, and the dropping action in fast succession. Bang, bang, bang. 3 things. Good. Excellent. Then I walk back. Dun, dun, dun. And he comes back and he gets me again. And we replay the whole damn thing. It's identical. Except, boom, we get here and then what happens? Oh, hell! He reversed me. I was getting set up to do my goodie to him, and now I'm in spine lock. So who can tell me what I do next?
Strange non-rhythm.
Oh, strange non-rhythm, which is tiny step, da, 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 and then kabam, right? So the sit-down thing is the nice way to do it. If you do it more like a tree falling in the forest, you get long projections. So you want a bunch of space behind you, or you want walls for them to go through, plate glass windows. You want things. Anyhow, that's the first 2. And did you all get a dose of doing those yesterday, or to your own degree of comfort to do those? Anybody want to revisit those 2? No? Yes? Maybe? Okay, going on. So then, I would be facing this way. And you walk around me, sneak around behind. You got to sneak around behind me, man. There's a lot of guys sneak up on you in this kata. And he sneaks up on my weapon side, so if I draw, I'm encumbered to deal with him on this side. And he sneaks up and gets around me and goes right for my belly. And he does a weird thing, like Dracula. He does this, this big open close thing. That big open close thing is a driving action. He's driving through my belly to come mess with my center. I'm going to take his hand and guide. Oh! And this looks very similar. Miyake's way was interesting. It's very much the Legos that you were doing. When you see it done, just poke at me. When you see it done by the Kodokan Kata guys, they're still doing that. They're doing the lateral displacement. The 90 degrees is probably what you want. Question? Okay, cool. So that's the next one. He takes a poke at you in the belly. Left hand, mirror hand feeds cross. Control above the elbow. Close the gap between the 2 bodies. Touch his shoulder, touch above the elbow. Turn 90 degrees, kneeling. When you do this sort of 90-degree kneeling thing, you don't have to do the stabilization. When you do the one that goes lateral through him, that's what the significance of this is you're having to stabilize at the end of that thing. Because it's basically like standing on a tightrope, kneeling on a tightrope. Okay, I feel better now. All right? Cool. When you do the turning forms of it, you're not kneeling on a tightrope, so you don't need this part. So you'll see some forms that have this and some forms that don't, and that's the difference. Cool? Let's try just that one, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Oh yeah, it was recorded. So,
Do it again.
second version. This time we're compressing down, and I'd like to take him on this ride and get control of him. And you ever get this guy's a pain in the ass? So, shit, he's not into it. He's going to go somewhere else. And it's like, man, you're in some damn fight. So that's what begins this deal. You start into the compression and out ride, the long extension, and it's failing. And so you immediately say, hey, I don't think that's such a good idea. I don't think that failure down and forward is going to be happening. And so we come up to something that's a whole lot like Oshitoshi here. That elbow rises, and we have a little control here. And again, if everything smiles upon you, and he trips over the curb right there, or you happen to do a sotogari, or all sorts of cool things, that may be the end of the day. Probably is. We have a high probability of knocking their head off right here. But the Kata actually says that he lives through that too. Boom! Because why? Because he's one of those ukes that, goddamn it, you can't do it to me. And he actually comes over the top of this and reverses you. It's like, oh no, he's a badass. And so when we get into, oh no, he's a badass problem, and we finally find ourselves reversed, it's not just struggling over a technique, but uh-oh, we're now compromised. What's it say to us to do? Boom, boom, be a badass. Oh yeah, here I am. The mysterious, and the hands just change. They just float into a soft, delicate, whatever the hell you can get a hold of. Grab them by the ear, I don't know. And the little feetsy thing happens. This little dinky, dumb feetsy thing. And boom! It's like a secret weapon. It's kind of cool that way. You're fighting and fuming and farting and, oh, I'm going to hit him and he's hitting me and I'm tearing his arm off, and then suddenly, uh-oh, you find yourself in uh-oh. And when the uh-oh happens, you just sort of get Mr. Relaxation response. Everything becomes sucker hands. I love the sucker tentacle thing. And you just the little dinky feet. Cool? And again, because it's big projection, try to all work linearly, please, so you don't throw it into each other's lines, okay? Try it out, be gentle. You don't have to do the long fall, bam, that kills them dead. You can do the sit down fall, and it'll be a much less energetic ride, okay? Because the fulcrum of the fall starts at their ass and goes to their head, bam, instead of falling timber and the whole body launching. Cool? Okay, try it.
We did 1, 2, 3, 4, didn't we?
We've done the first 4. Okay. So we'll do 5, 6, maybe, or 5.
We haven't done Hikitoshi and those that look like Hikitoshi.
We're at the diagonals.
Yeah.
The Kata sets up an interesting way. It starts off in this very flat form, and you're square to everything. And Fuke's out here, and Corey's out there. You can see where so we'll do and I turn, and I walk forward. And I take the extra step. Bam! And he's just out of my peripheral vision. He comes striding up, and he's too far away with him. And he puts those sucker things on my belly. I'm going to get the thing from this side. There you go, good. And you swing this front, I swing it away. I go, whoa, he's trying to boom. And I go, kill him. If I kill him, great, but, you know, he's a pain in the ass. I can't kill him that way. So I try to do that. And I get back here a little ways, and that ain't quite it. And so what? We got the lateral action. Boom. We got the stand on the tightrope deal, which puts everything in one single line and down and back. We got this, right? That's going to show up again and again. Comes up, you see again. And we got the, oh, he's trying to kill me. And then he does the evil thing. What's he do? He comes over the top. Whoa! And he reverses me. And I got to switch. Anybody tell me what's next?
Falling
Those dumb little throws.
micro stuff.
And I kill him. Throw him on his head. You all right, man? Okay. Not this yet. That's good. Not this yet. And that's all been facing like this. Then I do, when I'm facing this way, and you walk around. But I gotta be facing this way. I'm backwards. You walk around behind me and come up on the weapon side and back down into the middle. And the next bit, yeah, he's coming in like he's collapsing into my center. Everything's going, bam, like that. I'm losing my mind, Andre. Oh, yeah. And we had the extension across, right?
The back.
But I'm doing it backwards to everything. Sorry. And that's very familiar to what Pat did. The secondary form of that. And this arm, what did we say about that? I'm trying to drag him down, and he's boss. He's staying even on his feet. He's got some stability. So, his first shot is to bust him up here. Once you throw you hand in the face, try to tear his head off, and just throw him through the wall. And that would be great if it worked. We'd love it. That'd be fantastic. Or it could be also that way too. But boom! But again, we're dealing with an uke that's a real sincere pain in the ass. So when we drive this in, he actually gets over the top of it and busts our posture again. Uh-oh. And again, we're having to deal with this. Whee! So that's what we got to do, right? Good. At the end of that, we take up these diagonal positions. And for ease of purpose, we'll just do it in this diagonal. And in the first case, he's going to come sneaking up toward me with a knife behind his back. So you imagine you got a knife behind your back. Let's do your other hand for the knife. There you go. And we're walking along, and about a pace away, he begins to reach up with his free hand as if to get a hold of something, like he's going to reach in and grab me by the neck plate we were talking about, the top of the breastplate, in order to prepare to turn me and start jabbing this into the spots in my armor where he could penetrate this secret, sneak, evil attack. And the technique that accompanies it is basically ukiyo-toshi, or from Aikido, it's ikyo-toshi. But it's a form that accounts for the fact that you don't want to go over there because there's a damn knife over there that he's sneaking up on. And so the first part of this is as you're walking in, he reaches up and we come up with it, and we kind of stimulate him a little bit of up right there. He reaches up, we reach up underneath it and tickle him here. You know? So that's your first bit to practice. He's walking in, and about a pace away, he reaches, you reach, and you say, hey, why don't you come on up a little bit? Just get that. Now you notice he still came forward. And we want to break that forward line. We don't want him to continue with that knife side. And so the second part of this is something 90 degrees to it. So it's a 1-2. You know? The second part hits him right around the zone of his elbow. And it doesn't hit hard. It's really like a little love tap. Right here. The kneeling thing is like extra credit. If you happen to hold on, or he happened to hold on, or if something gets hooked together while that happens, you've done the third piece too. You don't. But I recommend first, have your partner walk up and start reaching up with that front hand. Catch the up. Catch that up. Then add the up and the sideways. Up, sideways. And finally, up, sideways, down. Up, sideways, down. And then, interestingly, Zanshin thing. Miyake was very specific about the Zanshin thing. You've just blasted him. He's gone flying. She said, don't look back. Just keep on walking like nothing ever happened. It's the most casual deal in the world. He's jumped up and he's reached for you and he's got a weapon and he's and then you go down and you come right back up, try not to be very silent. It's a non-event. You get away to the perimeter of the pocket, you turn around, reset in the next technique.